Imagine this. You're working your hardest in a busy restaurant, trying to make sure every customer is happy, when suddenly you get the shock of a lifetime. A tip so huge, so unexpected, that it could change your life. It's a moment that feels like it could be the turning point you've been waiting for. But instead, it turns into the beginning of your nightmare. What if I told you that this generous tip, given to a black waiter by none other than Donald Trump, ended up costing him his job? That's right, a single gesture of generosity turned into a career-destroying incident. It sounds unbelievable, but this story is all too real. What happens next will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about race, power, and the hidden truths of life in America. Stick around, because the twist at the end will leave you shocked. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before we jump into this crazy story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support means a lot, and we're just getting started with incredible content that dives deep into the stories that really matter. So let's talk about something that has been causing a stir across the internet. A story about race, power, and how a moment of generosity can quickly turn into a life-altering event. Imagine you're a waiter at a high-end restaurant. Nothing fancy, just your regular day at work. You're focused, doing your job, making sure everything runs smoothly, but you're not expecting anything extraordinary to happen. That is, until one day, former President Donald Trump walks in. Now, most of us can agree that serving someone with Trump's level of fame and wealth would be a big deal. But what happens next is far beyond anyone's expectations. As the meal comes to an end, Trump leaves an unexpectedly large tip, a tip so massive that it would have made any server feel like their hard work was truly recognized. At first, the waiter is in shock. Could this be real? Could something as simple as a tip change the trajectory of his life? But here's where the story takes a dark turn. Instead of feeling elated or grateful, something unexpected happens. The waiter is fired. Just like that. No explanation, no reason given, just a sudden and seemingly unjust termination from his job. And it gets even stranger. Rumors start to swirl about why this happened. Some say it was because of the tip itself. The restaurant, it turns out, had a strict policy about tips and gratuities, and they didn't want anyone getting too much attention. Others began speculating that Trump's involvement was the real reason behind the firing. Maybe the management didn't want to be associated with his politics or controversial persona. But then, there's another theory that begins to emerge, one that stirs up deeper questions. Was the waiter fired because of his race? This is where things get really complicated. Was the firing just a coincidence, or was there something more at play? The fact that this waiter was a black man made some people wonder, could this have been an act of racial discrimination? Was there something about his identity that led to his firing, or was the tip the tipping point? And let me tell you, the conversations that erupted in the wake of this incident became as heated as you can imagine. Many people supported the waiter, arguing that he deserved to keep his job after serving Trump. Others criticized the restaurant's decision, questioning whether they had acted unfairly in firing someone over something so trivial. As this story started to get more media attention, the details became more murky. People wanted answers. Why would a simple act of generosity by Trump have such drastic consequences? Was it the sheer amount of the tip that made the management uncomfortable? Or was it that this tip came from someone with such a public and controversial background? Some even suggested that the firing was political. Maybe the restaurant management disagreed with Trump's views, and they didn't want to appear as though they were supporting him in any way, even through something as innocent as a tip. But regardless of the reason, the fallout from this situation was profound, and it raised important questions about the intersection of race, power, and the service industry in America. This situation is just one of many instances where black workers in the service industry find themselves in difficult, often unjust situations because of the power dynamics at play. Studies show that people of color in the service industry are often treated differently by customers and employers alike. It's not just about tips or money, it's about how society perceives these workers, especially those in positions where they're seen as subservient. It's about the racial biases that influence everything from hiring decisions to the way customers treat employees. And this waiter story is a glaring example of how these biases can manifest in real life. As more people weighed in on the situation, it became clear that there was more than just a job loss at stake here. This was a reflection of the broader societal issues that continue to affect marginalized communities. The waiter's life, his livelihood, had been completely upended. And while some people rallied around him, others were quick to dismiss his firing as a non-issue. Some even blamed the waiter for making too big a deal out of something that they felt was just part of working in the service industry. But when you look closer, it becomes clear that this wasn't just about one waiter's job. This was a window into a much bigger conversation about race, privilege, and the hidden forces that shape our lives. Let's think about it for a moment. What does this incident really say about how we treat each other? What does it tell us about the expectations we place on people based on their job, their background, or even their skin color? And what does it mean when someone in a position of power, like Trump, can impact someone's life without them even realizing it? The story of this waiter is just one example of how race and class intersect in ways that we may not even fully understand. It's about the way that people of color are often caught in systems they can't control, systems that can make or break them without warning. As the story continued to unfold, it became clear that this was not just a local incident, it was a national one. It sparked debates across social media where people weighed in with their opinions on everything from racial bias to the ethics of tipping. Some argued that the waiter had been wronged, while others claimed that the situation was blown out of proportion. But no matter what side of the argument you fell on, one thing was certain. This story struck a chord with many people, and it raised uncomfortable questions about the way we treat each other in the service industry and beyond. And as we look back on this incident today, the impact it had on the waiter's life remains clear. This wasn't just about a tip or a job, it was about everything that came with it: the power dynamics, the racial implications, and the larger social structures that we navigate every day. This incident may have been just one story, but it represents something far bigger, something that we must all take seriously. So, here we are at the end of this intense story. The question remains, what can we learn from this? How can we do better as a society when it comes to treating people of color with fairness and dignity, regardless of their job or background? And what role do power dynamics play in these situations? If you have any thoughts on this story, or if you've ever had a similar experience, drop a comment below. Let's keep this conversation going, because it's not just about one incident, it's about changing the way we think and act towards each other every single day. And as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I can't wait to continue diving into these important stories with you.